Hello, assalamu alaikum, sayonara, namaste. How are you guys? Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Expat Story with Mahawash Ejaz. This time in these conversations, I'm bringing you someone who I've spoken to before, but now we're speaking to her in a different lens. Living in Dubai, you get to meet so many people from across the world. As Pakistanis, sometimes we don't meet a lot of people who are across the border in the general experiences and vice versa. But living in Dubai kind of exposes you to so many beautiful people from across the border. And one of those very beautiful people that I've met, that I've befriended over the years. She's been a colleague, she's been a friend. We've chatted at length about so many things. You've met her before on my channel, but from today, I want to talk to her from a different perspective. I want to get her insights about life as an expat. Welcome to the show, welcome to the podcast, Manju Ramanan. Manju, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure speaking to you always.
Always a pleasure to speak to you as well, because our conversations are always so much more deeper than, and I don't mean this as that my other conversations aren't deep enough, but I'm just saying that given the industry we are in, sometimes entertainment journalism can be a bit, superficial, but it can be.
Of course.
It can be. But then whenever I talk to you, I always discover deeper layers. Today, the conversation that I want to start you with is your journey as an expat. And like I mentioned, as Indians or as Pakistanis, sometimes we don't really interact as in our respective countries.
Right.
And like I remember my dad went to India when I was a baby, and growing up, he would only tell me tales. He went to Allahabad, and he would tell me tales like, things are here. And he went to Delhi as well, I think. And I was like, oh, I always want to go. And I always had that thing that I want to visit. And as somebody who grew up not really thinking that I'll move abroad, when I came to Dubai or when I lived in the Middle East, I interacted with a lot of Indians that gave me a different perspective of how Indians are. Was it the same way with you? Tell me about your journey. Tell me about your journey as an expat, interacting with different nationalities, your journey in your career, in your family, relationships. Share it all.
Okay. So I came here around 2008.
2000, wow, okay.
And that time, there was a company called Sterling Publications, and I came there as deputy editor. And I was looking at a magazine called the UAE Digest, which was a current affairs magazine.
Nice.
You're talking about the era of magazines at one point of time,
print.
which existed.
Print.
And it was thriving.
Yeah.
So that was what I started out as when I came here. We used to live in Karama. So my husband at that time was a paying guest. And I just went and stayed with him. But he was living in one room in that house, which had two rooms. For me, first of all, just that space to manage that little space. And then I had to go and buy something to lie down on. So I went around Karama, and I was new. I was very new. So I would look around.
How old were you?
Well, 28. You want to know my age?
I'm very happy to tell you. I'm 42.
I'm 52. So
Wow,
I'm
wow.
happy to be.
You do not look 52. I think 52 is the new 42.
No, it's younger.
Younger 32?
Okay, so what happened was first of all, the concept of not having a kitchen. Because for everything, because he lived like a married bachelor. So I had to just go out. So you get up in the morning.
So he was here for a bit and then you joined
And then
him.
I joined.
Oh.
So it was like, and sometimes, men don't understand the concept of women in spaces. So it'd be like, okay, for me, then I had to go, for everything that you go down for chai, you go down to
That
a
haba.
restaurant downstairs and ask for chai. And then you throw it there and then you come up and then there is just the room which has a bed. So what do? You lie down. There is the concept of space. I remember writing an article for the Times of India about confined spaces and, how suddenly it shrinks. The space concept shrinks till the time you're actually moved to a place where you can actually
place of
stretch.
your own.
Your own. So that is how it started. And it was there's one incident that I'll never forget because I was not used to living in someone else's house. Right? And the entire concept of I'm vegetarian and I'm a very picky vegetarian.
Oh.
So the entire concept of every place, every city has a certain smell. And maybe that building that I lived in had a peculiar smell. And it was not vegetarian smell.
Okay.
So for me to get used to
That.
a certain something which I didn't understand, because, we don't realize, but olfaction is such an important part of our
Oh my God.
lives. You
Yeah.
can't like, and it's not about nasty, bad, good, or I'm not judging it. It's just that it smells differently, and my what do you call, olfactory nerves had not gotten used to it, and every time I would step in or step out, I would have this smell coming in, and I'd be like, okay, now, okay, I have to deal with it, kind of a thing. Nothing wrong in it. It's just that it's me. It's not them. It's me. That was one thing. I was like striking. It hit me. That was one thing. And the second thing was, now we had basic things because I had not moved. We had not moved into a house, and we were looking for a house in between. Because I didn't get my son. My son was 4.5. So he was still in India. So I said, I'll go and find a place for us, and then you come. And my mother was going to bring him. I remember one particular incident, and I'd always remember that one, Zada, because that one, the initial years was, so when I landed, my husband couldn't pick me up from the airport.
Yeah.
Okay. He just said, you take a cab and come here.
Okay.
And we are talking about before the supposed GPS systems
Oh,
happened,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
And my phone, I had not planned. I'm not a very planned person. So I got down and I got into a taxi from the airport. And the best thing I found that taxi walas are the best people to chat with.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Fantastic. And this guy was a Malayali
Okay.
who was working in a bank in Kerala and had taken 2 months ki chutti, and I was earning money here as a cabbie.
Nice.
So, and I understand Malayalam. So, and my phone went off. So I didn't go off, but I had his number. So I called my husband from the cabbie's number. So that was my first introduction to Dubai, that they are so generous.
Yeah.
That they allow you to call. So I called him and I said, listen, I'm here, I'm the right and left. That was my first experience of, oh, wow. I met a Malayali in Dubai, and that was my first experience. And he spoke, we understood each other's languages. That was one thing. Then the second is the olfaction that I told you about. And the most important incident I always feel, which always keeps me grounded, is I was not used to this heavy ACs, right? In India, we are not used to air conditioning like this, because definitely we don't.
So the area you come from, India, is it, what kind of temperature is it?
It is warm. I come from Baroda, Gujarat. It is very warm and it is cold, but you don't need AC the whole day.
The way we do here.
The way we do here.
Okay.
And again, it is also the kind of AC. Sometimes it's full blast, right? Some people really. And for me, I was like, I'm a little temperate when it comes to everything. I like a little balance. And because the AC was in the owner's side of the house, they would like it like blasted. And there was just one bed which my husband used to sleep, and I used to sleep down with a mattress. And that mattress was thin. So रात को मुझे ठंड लग रही है. मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या करूं. And he's snoring away. And I also work. It's not that I'm not working. And I can't find anything. ओढ़ू क्या? And साड़ी निकाल के ओढ़ लूं क्या करूं? You know what I did? And it was very strange. And in that whole room, we just had space to keep the bags that we had got. The rest was all their stuff. अब ठंड लगे और नींद भी आ रही है तो क्या करूं? And I started getting up and opening the cupboards. They are not my cupboards, and they are not things I should do. But I was like looking for something.
Yeah, because you're freezing.
You know what I saw? I saw curtains. And मैं curtain ओढ़ के सोई हूँ. And whenever I think of, people talk about ये हमने किया था, मुझे हमेशा वो curtains याद आते हैं. And सुबह उठ के I had to keep it back because And I, in my weirdest dreams, have never been in a situation where मुझे ऐसा करना पड़ रहा है. But not that I look down on it or something, but sometimes it's okay. It keeps you grounded. You'd see that also, this is how we started.
It's an adjustment.
And the first month, your salary comes at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So इतना तो पैसा नहीं होता है कि, and we had no kitchen, remember. So I used to work in Media City. And you know how Media City was at that time. I had this convenience store, and my lunch budget, because breakfast तो होता ही नहीं था. हम लोग सुबह my गाड़ी would come. Thank God I had a pickup and a drop from the office because I still don't drive. So we would go, maybe chai was the only thing that we would have in the morning. Just before the gaadi would come, there is a small thela there. We had chai. And Sheikh Zayed Road was crazy traffic at that time. And and I have a motion sickness problem. Everything, I'm like sitting like this thinking that I hope I don't throw up and मैं कैसे उतरूंगी यहाँ पे इतनी गाड़ियाँ इतनी तेज. I'm thinking of those things. And then Media City पहुँच के I would sit for some time, because this whole idea of pace and your body getting used to that pace of a city.
Pace of the city, the pulse of it.
Would take some time, because I come from a small town, Ahmedabad, Baroda, like not metropolitan cities. Now, of course, it's a different pace. But at that point of time, this right midturn
Highway
also the way cars drive, and
The speed.
and there is a lot of circular movement in many things. So वो सब body को आदत नहीं थी. तो sort of get into that space and say, and now I'm okay. But otherwise it'll be like, what's going on? And I would wait कि जल्दी आ जाए कुछ. And then Media City में convenience store, whatever stores they were, I think. I don't remember them. I think Zoom or something.
Yeah.
My daily budget was 5 to 7 dirhams.
Yeah.
So what do you get in 5 to 7 dirhams? You
Was
can
it-
get a lot.
You can get I was about to say this. Yeah.
It depends on what you're picking up.
Yeah.
So it could be a cupcake or maybe a small juice or an apple. So that was and it's not that I don't come from lack. I come from proper, like regular families. But here, because the salaries would come and I didn't want to spend what we had. So I had to be like, let
Careful.
me see. Because dinner anyway was out. We would go home and go out for dinner because there was no kitchen.
There was no
Till
kitchen,
one.
yeah.
So that was quite interesting. And I find that part of my life, when I go back and see excess, when you see overflow and you see wealth and you see affluence, you look at this and say, okay, no. ये भी exist करता है.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of the city. It has space for all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And I've been that all kind of person. So I always feel that compassion and inclusion is the core of Dubai.
It is. And also there's a misconception about Dubai that it's all about decadence and it's all about affluence. It's not. Stories like yours and so many other stories are prime examples of how people who they go through that process of Dubai allows you that 1 dirham wali chai and that like you said, in 5-7 dirhams you can get like your lunch sorted and everything. And I think that it has allowed so many dreams to come true.
Yeah.
And from countries like ours where people maybe aren't doing it so well, like cabbies you're talking about.
They're the best
Yeah,
people.
oh my
I've
God.
ever
Like, and
encountered.
the stories that one of the stories I heard was like how this cabbie from Pakistan, how he was driving a Kareem or Uber or something, I don't know. And then he was telling me how he was able to put his kid through college, his kid through medical school. And now the kid is like, and the girl is studying in some premier institution in Pakistan. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And look at what Dubai has done to.
I think Dubai has a lot of dua.
Yeah. Yeah, the word has it. Yeah.
Because it does have, it has helped people. People work here and send money home. They have gotten rid of debts. They have gotten rid of. They've built their homes. They've built
lives.
prosperity into their lives. So there is a lot of like we say Lakshmi. This is the seat of Ma Lakshmi.
Yeah.
So there is a lot, and because it has been so yielding to people.
Yeah.
Yielding as in giving yields to people, not yielding as in the other way. It has a lot of dua.
Yeah. And I think that like I know from my experience from Pakistanis, what I hear about them, and I'm talking about that class that has literally nothing and they come to Dubai and they build so much.
Yeah.
I want to know what's it like in India, because what stories I hear from Pakistan are so heartwarming. They are so beautiful in terms of what, like at this cabbie I told you. And even so many people, even overall in the Middle East, not just UAE, but in the Middle East. I lived in Yemen, I remember. And in Sana'a, we had this, my husband had this colleague, and he was again from a small town in Pakistan, village actually, and not even a town. And then each year we would hear a story. So this year he has put a foundation in his house. Next year he had enough to put a lanter कहते हैं उर्दू में, like they put a lanter in his house, which means like a chat. So each year you would hear the story, and then finally the day that his house was complete in his village, it was like a huge celebration. And then obviously there were issues in Yemen and people left gradually. We even left during that time, but and that story is always going to stay with me. I'm like, look at how he built his life from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 points, and then he was able to do so much with his life.
Well, I'll give you a very beautiful example of a friend of mine who's a photographer, Sultan Khan. Sultan is a wildlife photographer.
Okay.
When he came to the UAE many, many years ago, he was probably, his father just passed away or something. He'd come as a very young man. And he was somebody in Ras Al Khaimah. So when he arrived at the job, it was in the one that he was meant to do.
Okay.
Something happened like that.
Okay.
And so he had a cycle and he used to cut stones by the side, whatever he used to do. But he wanted to stay on because he had to send money home. So there were things that he had to do. So every time he wouldn't give up. He said, no, I will stay here. And what kept him going was a small ad in a newspaper which had a Canon, Canon camera.
Okay.
And he would look at the camera and say that till the time I buy this camera, I'm going to live here. So it gave him that goal.
Motivation.
So in a way, it's a lot like Dubai because it gives you that, and the UAE that matter, it gives you that sense of goal that, okay, if I reach till here, I'm going to here. I'll be here till that time. And then nobody, people always overstay.
Yeah.
They never stay for that 1 year and say, okay, now I'm going back. They'll say, okay, I want to buy that too.
Yeah, and
So
before
it's-
you know it, it's 10 years.
Yes. So it's like a mirage. Like it's
Yeah.
like Mrigatrishna, jisko bolte hain. It's like every time the golden deer comes in front of you, you want to chase it a little further. You want to chase it a little further, and finally you end up living in that place, right? So. With him, it was very interesting and very inspiring because he kept looking at that camera and said, okay, till the time I get this camera, I'm going to live here. Today, he's a brand ambassador of that camera.
Oh,
that brand.
wow. In
And
the UAE.
In the UAE.
Yeah.
And every time a new camera is announced, he's the first person to look at it. And then he also started off-roading and stuff like that. So he's an off-roader who has, so they give him the cars for the first time because he then goes and parks it in a fancy place and you know, he
Nice.
gets, so that's the story.
That's the story. Wow.
So it is a story of aspiration. What you can dream can come true in Dubai.
100%.
And MF Hussain, long ago, when he was still alive, I met him at Kismet Connection. There was a film called Kismet
yeah,
Connection.
I remember that film.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I went to watch it in Lamsi Plaza, which was
I
that
remember-
time
yeah,
still
yeah,
working.
Of course.
And suddenly I see MF Hussain. He had booked the show for his friends. So we got tickets.
Yeah.
And suddenly I see him sitting there.
Yeah.
And for me, when I came to Dubai for the first time, before I came, I wanted to meet him because I knew that he was living here. And
Oh,
I
yeah?
wanted to.
Oh, I didn't know he lived here.
He lived here.
Oh, I didn't know
His
that. Yeah.
granddaughter lives here. Too.
Okay.
So I wanted to meet him. And what are the chances that in probably 15 days of mine coming here and watching this film or something, I see him outside. Like outside, the film has just gotten over and he's sitting on, like when people are and I went up to him and I said, sir, I want to meet you. And I already was interviewing. I mean, I could interview him. I could interview him. So I went up to him and the first thing that you look at MF Hussain, God bless his soul, he's no more now, is not his face. You look at his feet
Okay.
because he doesn't wear any footwear.
Oh, yeah?
MF Hussain doesn't wear footwear. That is his main thing.
Okay.
So the first thing people look at him is not his face. They'll say, and you know what he had done? He had put silver nail polish on his feet only because he knew that as an artist, people would look at his feet. And he said something to me, which was, I think it stays with me. It's one of my first stories I did in this country for UAE Digest. He said, Dubai is the Aladdin of the world.
Ah, it's so profound.
He says, Dubai says, I want this, and it happens.
And it happens. That's so true. That
And
is
for me, that is what denotes this country because anything that Aladdin wanted
yeah.
was given to him.
Yeah.
Because he was of a good soul. He wasn't malicious. He was just aspirational.
Yeah.
And that aspirational thing is what I think underlines Dubai.
I think we say it in Urdu, na? Niyat saaf, manzil asan. So if you have a good target, if your target is not to hurt people or malign people or say terrible things, I think that somehow if you believe in that, God or whatever belief system you have, you end up on that path. It's a good path. And I think that Dubai has allowed all those good people to find those good, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that Irish myth that is there.
Yes, which is true.
Yeah,
It
which is true. It is. When you, because, entertainment journalism is also a very fledgling industry now. It wasn't, in the time print, I don't think it was. Was it?
Well,
what would you say?
You know it better than me.
No, I do, but I want to know perspective because I think that people often refer to it as some kind of like a golden era. Do you feel that way?
Golden era. What is golden era? If you look
Like something was better when
golden
print
era is
was
about
there.
chances, right? Basically.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, you have
depends on what side of the
outside of the
work
it
you're
depends on it. No, golden era would also mean that a lot of things are thriving, and if there is a lot of talk and there is a lot of
It's
money.
like for
and
golden
there is-
era now, it can be for influencers. They weren't that big before, but now they are. Now this the age of the influencer, right?
Well, yes, okay.
What are you not saying, Manju? Say it.
Well, I'm writing a play called Influenza.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
as in
that's
the
my
ZA
word for
edge.
that's
Yeah.
my word for influencers also.
So I'm not saying they're wrong. A lot of them are very good.
Yeah.
But I'd like more consistency in what they do. Yeah, if you are endorsing a skin brand
Mm.
and then reviewing a comedy show
Mm.
and then reviewing a film
Mm.
and then eating at a restaurant and writing about it,
Mm.
okay, you are not an expert in all this.
Any of this. Yeah.
Okay.
Master of none.
And the fact is, then it gets into a very confused page. I don't know. I'll call it lifestyle. It's the easiest thing to say.
Yeah.
It's the most abused term in journalism. Lifestyle journalism. What is lifestyle journalism?
Anything and everything.
Yeah. So, serious journalist, you've been a serious journalist and you are one. There is always a little resentment towards blanketing terms like that because sometimes it's very important to focus and, talk about a certain thing in a certain way. And today, and you know what? The motive, niyat, when you say, the motive is fame. The motive is not to create a story.
Yeah.
So when the motive is to create fame,
And you'll do anything.
your content really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Are you telling a story? Are you serious about telling that story? Or are you serious about putting your face out there and said, I found this? Okay, there will be a certain vanity in both situations. But I know, I think we're still very, very partial to journalists. And I
Yeah.
think we should be because that is one group of people don't talk about. We do not talk about how so many print journalists had to face the camera whether they liked it or not. Not everybody would be like you, who would be very comfortable in front of the
And
camera.
I've done television since I was a
Yes.
baby. Yeah.
And so many of
Yeah.
us, I learned it. I'm not somebody who was facing the camera right from day one. I'm a print journalist. I learned to face the camera and I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. But not everybody does. But you're compelled to do it.
Yeah.
And you're compelled to do it in the world where your instant numbers are your currency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So huge respect to all of those journalists who have
did
not
that.
who have not been trained to face the camera and then now face the camera in whatever way they can and be judged about it. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But they come with knowledge. They come with experience. They come with arduous hard work.
Yeah.
And they come up with the right questions to ask people.
Yeah.
What irritates me is when you have somebody to be interviewed and on the way to that interview, you're calling me. Maybe I do a PR for that event. I am giving you questions.
Yeah.
And there
that's
is no
happened to me.
acknowledgement. There's
That's
no
happened,
acknowledgement
yeah.
to that help that you've given them because, please tell me, what should I ask?
I don't know anything about this person. What should I say? Yeah. I've had those conversations as well.
And your questions are usually on your car, on your way when you're in the car, or if you have the time, if you have somebody to drive you, you're looking at that last few posts or Instagram and then you're asking questions. For me, that's very disrespectful because as a profession, it's very important for you to respect your subject by preparing for it.
Yeah. And it's okay to not know, but at least give it that time. At
Yeah.
least study up. It's fine. Nobody can know
Read.
everything, but
you don't know
read.
everything. You might be
Yeah.
wrong, but it's
Yeah.
okay. Talk to the person before you start the interview
Yeah.
and say, listen, can you... And usually people are pretty forthcoming. Nobody
Yeah.
sits and says, oh, you didn't read out about me. Nobody will tell you that.
I've had that from somebody. By the way,
Yeah,
somebody
you
like,
have?
you don't know anything about me. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I
Yeah,
really
but
don't.
sometimes
But
you
yeah.
don't. And sometimes you can't watch the same... I mean, with films,
Yeah.
it might not stream here. You wouldn't know about it, but it's famous somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you'll have to ask them that, okay,
Yeah.
listen, I haven't seen any of your films now, but
Yeah.
can we talk about these issues because I've seen that you address these issues.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just respect for the subject,
Yeah.
which I think
Which is
makes
key.
makes a difference
Yeah.
between a journalist
And a hobbyist.
and a hobbyist. you're not naming them. Who's actually a fan.
Yeah.
Journalists usually cannot be fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't have that fan look in your eye.
No,
okay,
not
you
at
can have
all.
it with 1 star. Okay, allowed. Or maybe 2. But you can't be a fan girl saying,
For everyone.
welcome to Dubai. How are you doing? I mean, that is not our kind of journalism.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
different medium. Maybe other mediums,
Yeah.
radio and all are different.
Yeah.
But journalists are a little more, I mean, I should say more
Gravitas.
grounded.
And have more gravitas. Yeah.
Grounded, no?
Yeah.
Aren't we? We're supposed to be. So I don't know. Supposed to be abhi hai ki nahi?
नहीं अभी तो नहीं है अभी तो खत्म हो गया है and I think I blame the celebrities also like that's why I don't really interview people a lot anymore I only when I'm moved by somebody's art and I'm moved by somebody's work I would actually actively message them or call them. It's like I would want to speak to you. I would want you to sit in front of me because I want to have a conversation with you. I don't do that anymore. Very few people I would actually spend my time and energy on because what I've noticed is that a lot of these celebrities when they're promoting their films and when they're promoting their content they want to have those influencers and they want to have that mindless vapid conversations and they just want to make those TikToks
And dance with them.
yeah those TikToks and those viral reels and what they think is that will sell their film and I'm sure it does. I'm sure it makes a difference.
No, I think sometimes, for example, there was this film that I was doing promoting, which is a very serious film. It had World War II as its theme, and
Okay. Yeah.
we'll not name it, but whatever.
Okay.
It was a serious film,
Okay.
and during the promotion or somewhere, I see somebody from India, not influencer, somebody from India would come, and the actress of that film dancing.
Okay.
There was no correlation to
To the-
theme of the film, to the activity that was being done. And it was okay. And it is okay. It is considered to be fine. So for me, maybe this is marketing. Maybe I am still old school. And I look at it and said, what is this dance got to do with the film's theme? Not that you have to sit and talk about World War II all the time or talk about something serious. But how does it, how does it match? Like
Yeah.
when I do events, like I remember doing this film. It was a film called Gabru Gang. It's my friend's film. And it was 1 week after the floods had happened in Dubai.
Okay.
It's 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
The same week. And this happened in Dera. This
Yeah.
event happened in Dera. So just to be respectful to the fact that I was doing an event right after a very big thing that happened in Dubai. And so many people helped out.
Wow.
So many people helped out during the floods, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was in the film promotion, I gave away awards by the real heroes to the real flood warriors. So I thought somewhere I was addressing real life, somewhere I was addressing the film because it was talking about, more about what do you call comradeship and people coming together, team
Team building.
spirit. And
Okay.
all.
Okay.
So I thought this would work. And I'm not saying this is an ideal.
But you put your effort
because the
in.
whole idea
Yeah.
would be to make sure that there is some resonance, even if you're looking at it as marketing. I'm not there as a journalist then. Then I'm looking at it as the second stage of promotion. Am I being right, true to the soul of what it is about? The soul of the content. If not, anything fluff, according to me, is nonsense. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong.
But
I think you and I are just one of the last bastions of what's standing in between that new floodgate which is opened actually already of this new age of media. I
Yeah.
think we are that last
I remember there was
generation.
one event I did in 2017, which was the Dubai Women's Run. And that time in 2017, Mr. Singh, Harmeet Singh, who was leasing the run from the Dubai government, UAE government, I don't know exactly, I might be technically wrong there, had said that I would like you to do something with me. I said, do I look like a runner? So he says, no, but I know you'll do something for me. And he gave me an advance. He gave me money before it started. So I said, okay. And I went to my sari group. I had to do something now. What do I do? So I went to the group that I have, a sari group, which is a closed group on Facebook where it's a vanity group. People are talking about each other's saris. Oh, you beautiful sari.
That sounds
Today is
nice though.
yeah. It's a white day. This is a white color today and red color.
Oh,
So
nice.
basically they're admiring each other's saris. It's a great group of people who wear saris in Dubai, in UAE. So I went up to them, took a 45 dirham ticket, and I've written a poem on the sari. So I read out the poem. And then I told them, you run in saris. So I'll give you a national platform, run in saris. So 33 of them ran in red cotton handloom saris. But how does it resonate with the theme of the event? So there's an Indian who was heading the run. And what is better than an Indian attire to represent the run? So there's always going to be some connection.
Logic.
Some logic to why.
Yeah.
And if it is why and that logic is clean, then for me it works. Today you don't know. Maybe a certain song is which happens in Hindi cinema all the time. A certain song is added.
Yeah.
Like recently, look at what is Kalpana Iyer's song, Dhurandar's song, Ramba Ho, which is her song, has gone viral.
Yeah, Ramba, oh my God. बचपन में सुना था हमने ये गाना.
हाँ, पर ये उनका गाना है. उन्होंने she has performed to the song.
Yeah.
And she went to some event in Siliguri at a friend's son's wedding. And in the Sangeet, they asked her to go up on stage and perform. She just danced and put a small video that went viral. And at 69, she's 69. And look at how it's blown. Like she's getting calls every other day. The whole world has interviewed. I've interviewed her as well.
Yeah, I know, I saw.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And at this age and stage, it's a fantastic thing. This is how it is. So the best thing about now media, and especially this, is it's not age related. It is just content related. If the content is good and it resonates well, this is a good example of being viral.
Yeah.
Because it has somebody who has worked so many years.
Yeah, and they get the good due.
And it's 40 years. I think that she performed it 40 years ago. And now it's like because of
बचपन में सुना था मैंने ये गाना.
But ये गाना धुरंधर की वजह से एक तो बाहर निकला. And then she performing to the song, the time and everything just came together.
But that happened with Stranger Things. A lot of like the Running Up the Hill, Kate Bush's song.
Yeah.
It's an old song. So many You Spin Me Right Round. But then they kind of, and that's the good thing about any media that kind of pays good homage to the classics. And then it allows the newer generation like, oh my God, wow, we didn't know that this existed. Like abhi recently in Pakistan, there were a lot of the songs that are repurposed by Nusrat. I mean, Meri Zindagi Hai Tu, the drama, the Pakistani drama, which is like a rage in India also right now, is like, that song is an old Nusrat song. Hum bachpan se sun rahe hain wo gana. But Asim Azhar recreated it and it's now become this
Hawa abhi wapas aayi na.
Hawa, yes, obviously. And even like Nazia Hassan song, all those classic songs. But like, I feel like when it comes to the influencers, I think some of them are really good. Like, and I really like the influencers, two kinds, like one who are educational and the other who are real. Like if there's a real autism mom showing her real life, if she's not like, I also have performing, and I also have a problem with people peddling their children online. I can't. I'm not judging, but I'm also judging. Like I don't.
I think we all judge. Let's accept the fact that
we all judge. We all judge. So
I think, but we like to say that we are not judgmental.
We are not judgmental, but we are. But we judge. So I think that
how do you not judge? I'll tell you. People who say that they do not judge are all lying. Because कितनी बार आपने एक screenshot लेके अपने friend को WhatsApp
या DM किया है वो रील फ्रेंड को
देखो क्यों क्योंकि तुमने
and because सही बात है, anyone who says that you're not judging is absolutely lying. And I think that
अलग लेवल पे लोग जज
करते हैं. And as an expat, I think one thing that helps when I go back to Pakistan, I don't know if it's the same in India, but when I go back to Pakistan, I feel like I'm less judgmental. I am judgmental. Everybody is like, कुछ कहते हैं ना generally. तो वो एक जनरल लेवल ऑफ जजमेंट तो है. बट आई थिंक कि जब मैं पाकिस्तान जाती हूँ तो मैं फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई फील लाइक पीपल हु आर लिविंग विद इन दोज कम्युनिटीज आर मोर जजमेंटल. I think when you're an expat and when you
worldview is larger, right?
Worldview is, and your experience is more like, because like I was talking about to you earlier that when obviously you have a perception of Indians, or maybe Indians have perceptions of Pakistanis, or you have a perception of what Filipinos are like, or Chinese people are like, but then you meet all kinds of people everywhere.
So I have I believe in a very interesting, so this has happened to me also. People have asked me about Pakistanis. Okay, they usually do. They'll say, "Acha, how do
आप दुबई में रहती हो, वहाँ Pakistani मिलते होंगे."
So the thing is, let's be very honest about this. It's very simple. यहाँ पे हमारे नेबर्स, हमारे फ्रेंड्स एज एन इंडियन, हमारे फ्रेंड्स, हमारे क्लोजेस्ट पीपल पाकिस्तानी.
सेम.
इंडिया में तुम्हारा एक perceived person है वो एक क्रिकेटर होगा या तो एक स्टार होगा या तो एक एलिमेंट होगा जिसके बारे में हम बात नहीं करेंगे, ठीक है। ये 3-4 चीजें होती हैं जो क्लीशेड इक्वल टू, और मे बी एक हिस्टोरिकल फिगर होगा जिसने जो वहां से नहीं है, वो उस एरिया से रहा होगा, हिस्टोरिकल फिगर कहीं पे, एंड दे वुड इक्वेट दैट पर्सन विद यू नो व्हाटएवर। सो आई डोंट वांट टू गेट देयर इवन। सो देयर इज अ परसीव्ड एनिमी, दे आर नॉट योर नेबर्स। यहाँ पे हम ओणम साथ में सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, हम ईद साथ में सेलिब्रेट करते हैं। आई रिमेंबर आई वाज ऑन दिस वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, आई डोंट वांट टू नेम द चैनल, बट in Abu Dhabi, a very prestigious news show.
Okay.
They called me, and there was a Pakistani friend of mine, and there was another Indian filmmaker, documentary filmmaker. हम तीनों को बुलाया गया था बोलने के लिए कि तुम्हारे मुल्कों में प्रॉब्लम है, पर तुम यहाँ पे कैसे आराम से रह रहे हो, okay? And the lady who was interviewing us was American. अब हमने तो डिसाइड कर लिया था पहले से कि हम इसको कुछ दाना नहीं देंगे. Because they want
they
to
want
create
bhanda.
strife. They want that news point. And you're talking to a journalist about a news point that you will extract out of me. I might not be that much of a fool, right? So we had decided कि हम इसको अच्छे से जवाब देंगे, but we will not make it look like it's a wrong जवाब.
Yeah.
तो उसने ऐसे एक क्वेश्चन मुझे पूछा जो थोड़ा सा इंसिनुएटिंग हो सकता था.
हाँ.
तो मैंने कहा मैं जब अभी सॉरी ऐसे अहमदाबाद एंड बड़ौदा मैंने ऐसे अबू धाबी एंड मैंने ऐसे दुबई एंड अबू धाबी बिकॉज आई एम स्टिल इन माई हेड इन इंडिया. सो दुबई से मैंने एंड आई टेकन अ कैब टू दिस प्लेस, एंड ऑन द वे वो कैबी वॉज पाकिस्तानी एंड वी वर लिसनिंग टू ओल्ड, उसके पास एक ही हैड अ ब्लूटूथ में पुराने हिंदी गाने, एंड सम ऑफ देम आर वेरी वेरी ओल्ड, सो ओल्ड के तभी इंडिया
बाकी.
हाँ, तो वो जो गाने थे ना वो बजा रहा है और मुझे मैडम ये सुनो वो सुना ना हम लोग, तो मैंने वो एग्जाम्पल
ब्लूटूथ वाला जमाना. हाँ, सोचो यार.
तो मैंने वो बताया था कि ऐसा मैंने रास्ते में दिस जेंटलमैन हु ड्रोव मी हियर वाज पाकिस्तानी, आई एम इंडियन. हम गए एंड बहुत बहुत अच्छा था हमारा सफर बिकॉज वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट हिंदी सिनेमा एंड सॉन्ग्स. The Pakistani friend of mine said something even more interesting. He said, मैं हर weekend शरवणा भवन में इडली डोसा खाता हूँ.
Yeah.
So this anchor was like, and she looked at me at one.
What was she expecting? Like,
No,
what was
she looked at me squarely in the eye. This was going to be a 5-minute interview. It became half a minute. She looked at me squarely in the eye and said, "You're not going to give me anything, right?"
No.
I said, "No."
No.
I said, "No.
No.
We won't."
No
So
way.
if you are looking for strife,
you'll find it.
but if you're clear about it, and it's not that you don't it's nothing like I'm not loyal to my country, you're not loyal to yours, but don't create strife here where there is none. Because we live in Dubai, and Dubai is a country where about 200 nationalities coexist.
Yeah.
And there are issues. We'll sort it out. We don't want a third person to come and tell us how we should be with
That's
each
how
other.
it began in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody tells us what to do.
Yeah. No, and also I feel like the way that, and it's a coexistence model, which I think anywhere where there's strife, you need to remember it. Anywhere. I'm not talking about India, Pakistan. I'm talking about anywhere in the world. And that is simply that, first of all, I think there needs to be like a rule of law. Wherever I think that's my whatever understanding of sociology and psychology and politics that I have, I think whenever there's rule of law, with that's weak, these differences come up. Like here we know you cannot hurt somebody's property. You cannot hurt somebody. You cannot say anything terrible because the law will come after you. That fear of law, even if somebody is a bit of a rabble rouser, that will come after you. You will face the law. And it doesn't matter what nationality you are. It will happen. I think that's number one. And I think that for our countries, I always feel like we need to learn how to coexist because there will be differences. You cannot proselytize everyone into believing what you believe. There will be people who will be celebrating Onam. There will be people who will be celebrating Bakra Eid. Learn to coexist.
And they celebrate each other's festivals.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Filipinos I've seen celebrating Onam.
Yeah. But I will confess, I love the masala dosas here, and whenever I go to Karachi, I think Karachi has great masala dosas because Karachi had a Tamil and a lot of South Indian aunties were there.
No. Why? Because I have a friend called Maruf.
Okay.
Who used to work for ARY.
Okay.
His family.
Okay.
His family is from Tamil Nadu who migrated to Karachi.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
So there is a YouTube video on Tamils in Karachi.
Yeah, I'm sure. And
they are the ones who make the dosas and the idlis. There is a whole mohalla which is
Please tell me about it. I
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
know.
I'll send you
Yeah,
that.
send me the video because I am a huge fan of dosas, and I remember there was a restaurant in Karachi called Ponderosa, and it was near Aga Khan Hospital. And Ponderosa ke samne, bilkul, there used to be a van.
Okay.
A Suzuki. I don't know if you know Suzuki
yeah,
pickup.
yeah, yeah,
ये
yeah.
Suzuki pickup का जो bag पीछे होता था. There was an auntie, and we used to call it Auntie Dosa. And
Achha.
that Suzuki pickup had a little, because it used to be modified in a way that back of the truck was a restaurant. It was a makeshift restaurant.
Okay.
And Ponderosa was this high-end restaurant which also served thalis, and it was like Portuguese mixed with South Indian and all those foods, right? So people used to go there. Then they used to, if you want to have a nice sit-down dinner, you do that. But if you're in a hurry, or if you just want to sit and eat in your car, that auntie would give you that dosa on a thali, and it was the most amazing dosas I've ever had, like crispy and like that. Oh my
so
God.
I'll tell you, Hyderabad has this. So whenever you go to Hyderabad, you have to come back with Karachi biscuits.
Karachi biscuits in Hyderabad. Wow.
So these are those tutti frutti wale biscuits,
Okay.
and it's got a little bit of a
Nut?
no, nuts से ज़्यादा अलग है, but there is the main part of it is a tutti frutti in it, and it's got a rose essence,
Oh.
and it is delectable.
Oh, you have to bring that for me then.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So it is, and it's available here. I'll get
yeah.
it for you.
Yeah.
It's in Aladil. I've seen it in Aladil.
Yeah, I'll definitely get
It's
it.
called Karachi biscuit.
Amazing. Yeah, we have like Karachi and it's very
And
common.
not just that, look at music. If you look at the gharanas,
Yeah.
Shafqat Amanat Ali Saab, which gharana is he from? He's from the Patiala gharana. So if you look at even the musical heritage,
yeah.
a lot of them are across the border gharanas.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. It's a lot of
Shared history.
Shared history. A lot of how can you dissociate the language?
No, not at all. Not
From
at
the
all. And
emotion.
I find the fight very stupid. Like either country claiming the language. It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. It's yours as well.
Yeah,
It's ours as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So coming back to Dubai, Manju, what is your now reading of how the country is going forward, how the expats are growing? I think Dubai recently also introduced a lot of things which help people stay here longer because
yeah, the
people used
golden
to
visa,
the
of
golden
course.
visa, the freelancer visas, the this visa, the that visa. I think that another experience as an expat, which is again misunderstood by the world, expats in the Middle East, I would say, especially from our part of the world, is that people think that, oh no, we're not treated well here, or that we are treated as second-class citizens and things like that. And this is a misconception that people have. What I have experienced here is that it's again something which a lot of people may not expect if they're biased about Dubai or UAE, but or the Middle East in general, because I've lived in Bahrain, I've lived in Hong Kong, I've lived in Yemen. I think that if you do good work, you do get that place that you see. And I think that it can be a challenge, obviously, based on where you are, based on the work you do, obviously, but that challenge exists anywhere. So why this negativity sometimes, not always, about, South Asians in the Middle East?
I don't find it discriminatory at all. I mean, there could be very, very lame here and there things, but I don't see it at all because look at what happened during COVID. Where we discriminated, everybody in
Nobody.
this part of the world
Was one.
who had a phone, everybody who has a phone was given a time and you were all vaccinated. You
Yeah.
were looked after
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah.
You were given a time that you would go and it was easy. And look at the kind of infrastructure it would have entailed to create every citizen of this, every resident of this country to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
So they care. So when they care, we have to look at things that every other place doesn't have.
Yeah.
I've had the chance to interview so many new people who have come into Dubai. You have Chetan Bhagat who's moved here.
Oh, yeah.
You have Rasika and Mohammad Zishan Ayub.
I love Zishan. Oh my God, he's so good.
They have moved here. Then you have, many.
Yeah. It's
So
Sonu
many.
Nigam lives here?
Yes, he lives here, between here and India.
Yeah.
Nawazuddin Siddiqui's daughter was in college here, college here. This is like a second home, and why are people coming? And then with this new influx of people coming here, also bring in new perspectives, new knowledge.
Yeah.
You have perspectives, and especially a different energy because they are curious about us, and we want to work with them and see how different are they. So it's a very beautiful growth, and I believe that because of these laws, because of the fact that Dubai is such a safe space to
Oh my
also raise
God,
children,
yeah. Oh.
and families come and settle here, and also the fact that there's an ease of business, right?
Yeah.
Which parts of the world can you actually go and walk up? It's like a cafe. I remember going to the DET
Yeah.
cafe. You just pay money, you just show your documents, and over the counter, your license is ready.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're not waiting for 4 months or 2
Yeah.
months, and you have everything sorted.
Yeah.
It's like such an easy way. You feel that, okay, how will I go? You go there and they'll just put you at ease.
Yeah. How do you make your
I
experience
remember
better?
this is one. And the other thing is I've lost gold in the backseat of a car in Dubai.
You've told me the story.
Yes.
Yes.
And I had to, so I was returning jewelry. It wasn't even mine.
Oh, no
Okay?
way.
And it was a small green pouch. And
Oh
I'm
my
sitting
God.
in the backseat of a car. I've gone from my house in Tecom to Barsha to return this jewelry to my friend whose brand it was. And for what reason, I don't know, because I was anxious. I got down from the wrong side of the car because the traffic was too much. And I said, can I get down? And I got down. I had no clue. I had no trace of the driver or the color of the taxi or the number of the taxi. I had not carried a bill. And my jewelry is gone. And it is not even mine. It is somebody else's. And then I've gone to this friend's house and bawled. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. And I'm anxious. And when I'm anxious, then I
think
all
it's
my
when
buddhi goes for a toss.
Brain stops working, yeah.
So I'm working. I'm like, and her husband said, calm down. Speak to RTA. Okay. So they put the phone on and I speak to the RTA. I have lost this. And first of all, the RTA official calms me down. Madam, please calm down. I said, okay. The RTA official asking me to calm down. I said, okay, calm down. He said, where did you take the cab from? I said, I took it from this place to this place. He says, okay, anything happened in the middle? I said, yeah, I got a phone call in the middle. That's all he asked. I said, okay, ma'am, let me get back to you. Within 10 minutes, the taxi driver called me. He was from Pakistan. And he said, mere paas hai.
Mere paas hai.
And when he came, I didn't even take the gold from his hand. I clicked a picture of him.
Oh my God.
I said, मैं आपके बारे में लिखूंगी. And it's there. Masala carried that story.
Masala carried that story?
Yeah. It's still there. And and the only thing that you do, which is fair, is that you pay for that taxi which comes from
you
there.
do,
Which is fair. Once, another thing that has happened with me is sometimes when you charge your phone, you forget your phone in the car, in the taxi. I've done a lot of these things. Now, my phone is gone. Okay. I've forgotten the phone. And now how do I reach him? Because this is like a cab. And I know that the phone is there.
Yeah.
I have gone home and my WhatsApp is on my laptop.
Yeah.
I am chatting with myself.
Unbelievable.
And he's chatting with me.
Thank God your phone was unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever happened, he could see the messages and then I called him from another phone and whatever I did. And by the time the taxi driver had changed duty. So now the phone is with another taxi driver who has no background of this one. But look at the efficiency.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the other taxi driver, so I'm talking to this taxi driver about that one. I said, and he is busy. They are not going to prioritize. Like, naturally, they have other things to do.
They have other things and
But
duties.
They said, madam, when my duty gets over, raat ko I'll come and give you the phone.
Yeah.
11 o'clock, that man comes, drives to my house and gives me the phone.
Yeah.
Why would I not tip him?
Yeah, of course.
Why would I not rave about Dubai?
Yeah.
Because I've had some stupid experiences thanks to me. And there have always been solutions to it.
Yeah.
There's always been a reason for me to say, this can happen only in Dubai.
I remember when I was coming from Pakistan and I was carrying all my jewelry. Now, look at this. I've just gotten married.
Okay.
I've just gotten married. So, all my maike ka zevar, all my susral ka zevar. So, I have like thousands of dollars worth of gold.
Right.
And at that time, it wasn't that difficult to carry. Now, there are a lot of restrictions. And I have cash with me. And so, I have this maroon velvet bag. I remember. Shaadi hui hai, haath mein mehndi lagi hui hai, sone ki chudiyan pehni hui and everything. And so, I've just gotten off the plane extremely tired. just got married 15 days ago, really in a blur, life's just happening all around. And then I'm like, my feet are hurting. I'm at Dubai International Airport and my feet are hurting and I change my shoes. And my husband still makes fun of me to this point that, so I changed my shoes and I've left my bag and I've walked off. This bag full of all this, like literally could make somebody's life. Yeah, that bag. I've forgotten that bag. And I have walked into the duty free. And now I'm shopping with my husband and we're like, okay, what should we buy? This is Dubai. And we have to stay here for another week before going to Sana. And when I'm like, okay, now it's time to pay. And I'm like, where's my bag? And then my husband makes fun of the way I ran from that duty free store to where I was sitting. And, people are just walking around and I'm the only crazy person like, and I'm running and I see my bag in the same spot, in the same place with even, I think I'd left a tissue paper there or something with it. वो भी वहीं रखा है. Like not a single thing had moved. So, and you got to marvel that. Yeah. And that's what I think like good law and order does. But just wrapping up our chat, Manju, I also feel like the kind of stories we now have in Dubai, I think the way digital media has opened, a lot of what would you want more stories to be told? Like as an autism parent, what you were rightly talking about, how you said this can only happen in Dubai. I feel like as an autism parent, I see so many people moving from the US, the UK, from other countries to here because of how safe it is. Like nobody can say anything to my child because as autistic children often elope. They run away from home, right? And they have no sense of danger also. So you have just keeping them alive is a thing. So my kid had ran away from the house once. He just ran away. He opened the door and we didn't realize. He just left the house. And our house doesn't really have a gate because it's like parking right outside, right? So he ran away and then we didn't know where he was. And I was frantic. And I was like, khatam, ho gaya. Game over ho gaya. Because the street across our houses have all swimming pools in them. So I was like, okay, this is done. I will find some horrible news now. And he had just quietly gotten into another car and next to our house and just quietly was sitting there. And we didn't realize because then my mother told my husband that go check the cars because he cannot have run too far. And we were like pacing the street.
Mothers have this instinct.
Have this instinct, And I was like freaked out. Khatam, brain shut down. And then when that happened and when I found him, I just, although all my negative like paranoia was there, but I was like, if this was any other country in Dubai, I could not even have possibly found him. Like at my back of my mind, there was still hope. That no, I'll call the security. They have cameras everywhere. They will figure it out. Even if Khuda na khasta something bad happens, but they will figure it out. What would you say as an expat in Dubai who's been living there so long for other countries or other places or other, like I would love to have state-of-the-art facilities in Pakistan for autistic children. I would love to have other governments like UK and US to provide safety. Like we love what they can do.
I would look at the elderly as well.
100%.
Right? Because,
the vulnerable.
Because whenever my mother has trouble walking. So when Ibn Battuta had a Noah Cinemas, that was my choice.
I loved Noah Cinemas there.
Because it was close to, but it was close to the entrance.
Yeah.
And even if it's not close to the entrance, wheelchair access is everywhere.
Everywhere.
You go to Global Village, you go to the airports, you go everywhere. You can request. You go to World Trade Center for a show, it's available. So again, and there are ramps which can make it, that access is also with the infrastructure.
Right.
So I think that is a beautiful thing because that is inclusion in the true sense of the term.
Yes.
That you look at all kinds of people in society. It could be the tall, short. You can't say thin or fat anymore. So whatever.
Thin, fat, what?
Whatever. All kinds, all sizes.
It's all okay.
All sizes, all kinds of people. So the whole idea, that is inclusion. So as many as nationalities of 200 kinds of nationalities are included, the types of people in those nationalities are also included. And that is a very progressive thing to say, right? And also it's a very futuristic society. We're looking at air taxis. We're looking at cars or, I came by cab. It was a Tesla. So like luxury is every day.
Yeah.
I must tell you something very funny. I had taken my son to the US and we'd gone to Minnesota, I think, Mall of America. And they were trying to tell us that this is the biggest mall and whatever. At that time, some years ago. And I told my son to just not express his opinions in public that time. And I was like, okay. And it's nice. It's not that it's great. I'm not talking about any other country. I'm not looking down on anybody. But children in Dubai are so used to luxury that luxury doesn't impress them.
Yeah, that's true.
So he comes to me and says, Amma, this looks like Dera City Center.
Yeah.
I said, don't say this aloud. So the thing that impresses them, because he's now in university, which is green. So he told me this. He said, the only thing that impresses Dubai kids is nature,
Landscape. Yeah.
landscaping. Because the rest of it all is taken care of in Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah.
And despite the weather, despite the everything, why is it so aspirational to come to Dubai? 8 months of summer. If you look at everything that doesn't work against us, is converted into an advantage. Which part of the world does this? And I mean, there's one more thing that I always feel when you drive from the airport and those flowers greet you when you enter. And in a few days, the colors are changed. It's almost like, you change the color, AI, whatever.
Yeah.
There are invisible hands working to do that in the night. The gardeners who are working there to just suddenly, let it be pink today. And it'll be pink a few days.
Yeah.
This is magical. That's
it
why
is.
going back to MF Hussain saying that it is the Aladdin of the world.
It is.
It is.
It is. It is. Also, one more thing which we talked about, and I would want you to also, I think because we are from that generation, and I think that a lot of kids who are watching this this podcast is that there is a sense of responsibility that should be there. I think that if you have the platform, which a lot of kids do now, everybody can make an Instagram account, they can become influencers also, overnight fame can come. We were talking about this, and I do want to say this because I think conversations like these are also rare. Because what happens is that I want to today talk about what designer you're wearing and this and that.
Your
and I
bag
think
and your
your
shoes
bag
and
and your shoes and what are the best restaurants, and which is fine. That's also
That's
there's
great.
also a place
That's
there.
great.
But what I want to talk about is, what would you say to the kids who've become influencers, who've developed platforms? Because what happens is that sometimes they think they're also under a weird kind of pressure. There is a pressure to post. And I remember you said this to me once, and I always quote it to other people. I said, my friend Manju says, this is a beast. You have to keep feeding it.
Yeah.
You have to keep feeding it.
And it's a hungry beast.
Hungry beast. Oh my God, I'm going to add that to that quote. So they are under that pressure. We're not. I don't think we feel like that even.
You don't have to post. You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't post for 3 days. I'm like, sahi hai,
No, because
kuch nahi hua.
you have to have something to post, no?
Yeah, I feel like if I don't have anything substantial to say, I won't post. But people are like that. Today I just went to this, and they'll post some viral stupid trend, which again, I'm not judging, but I'm judging. I'm just saying that what would you say to the kids? Because you are at that position where you're also a part of this beast.
Yeah, if you want to really do that,
Yeah.
you have to equip yourself to have that. That means you have to read more. You have to watch more. If you want
Absorb more.
Yeah, if you want to express more, where is your stimulus coming from?
Yeah.
Are you reading more? So talk about what you read about, or even if you're scrolling, talk about why you like the reel so much. So the more you want to do something, the more you have to also put it inside you. So, because what you have is what you will give.
Yeah.
If you don't have it in you, then you'll have to do some inane stuff, which is exhausting for the creator as well as the consumer.
What's your take on that vlogging thing? Because it's big in Pakistan. I don't know. Is it big in India? The vlogging thing, today our fridge broke. Tomorrow I will building this
I
thing.
think it's also big there.
It's also big there. What's your take on it?
I don't consume it.
You don't.
So, but I know people who do.
I know
and they are
people who do.
addicted to it, like a
Yeah.
family talking about food in their
Yeah.
house, and they talk about it daily.
Uh,
It's money for them. They're probably making money out of it, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's up to them.
yeah.
But that's what content, that is the content that separates what I want to see. And you can curate content. The good
Yeah.
thing is this is an era of curating your content.
What's the biggest trend in India in terms of YouTube and?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Okay, all right. On that note, on that very censored note, thank you so much, Manju.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know everything. Okay, so it's fine.
yeah, it's fine. It's okay to not
okay
know
to
it.
admit that I don't know.
Yeah,
everything.
it's all right. And anyway, I think I'm in a happy bubble here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
for
it
the
was lovely.
conversation.
It's
It was always
insightful, and we always discover something.
Yeah, and we need to do more of these. We need to do like a series of these. I think like the influenza journalism that
Yes,
we have.
But no harm. There is nothing wrong with influencers. It's just that sometimes a lot of people, because there's a lot of narcissism in it,
Yeah,
and
inherent.
people who love themselves and want to put themselves out there. Good luck. let them do what they have to do. I have no judgment, but I would like to curate my content when I watch it. And that's what I'd like to tell everybody. Curate your content. Don't consume everything.
And don't put out everything. Not everything that goes into your head needs to be on this Instagram or TikTok.
Well, that cannot be. Then I know what you're saying, but democracy doesn't allow that, right? When you're
But democracy, we'll talk about democracy sometime. I think democracy is a debate. Let's have that sometime later. Guys, do follow Manju Ramanan on her social media. She's doing amazing stuff. She's one of those very vibrant personalities in Dubai who is always such a delight to talk to. Manju, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It didn't feel like an interview.
Or
it's always like a
yeah,
conversation. It doesn't look like there's a camera there.
No, and it's always our real conversations are like this also. Yeah. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. अपना बहुत ख्याल रखिएगा, अपने जान हाथ माल से किसी को नुकसान नहीं पहुंचाइएगा. Take care of yourself. खुदा हाफिज़.